Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome, welcome. My name is Virginia Johnson, and I am the Director of Operations, and I would like to welcome you all to our January virtual book club session. We're so excited to have Sarah Richardson joining us today to speak about her book, Collected in Color and Neutral. Sarah is well-known designer and TV personality, and we're happy to say she is also an honorary Top 100 Hall of Fame Award winner. And she is, of course, the award-winning founder of Sarah Richardson Design. Sarah has hosted and co-produced 8 hit HGTV TV series, including Sarah Off the Grid and Sarah's House, and can be found on her rapidly growing YouTube channel. Her first 3 books include Collected, City Plus Country, and were instant bestsellers. When she's not at the farm or the cottage or out of province, she lives in Toronto with her husband and 2 daughters. Please join me today in welcoming Sarah to our virtual book club. We can't wait to dive into her book, and feel free to ask any questions that you want to know about along the way. We will have a Q&A period at the end. Thank you. And now over to you, Sarah.
Let's go. Hi, everyone. I just want to thank you first and foremost for your patience while we tried to figure this out this morning. I'm coming to you live from Whistler, British Columbia, where I am actually on set shooting a brand new HGTV series, which is coming your way in fall of this year. And I'm shooting a brand new 10-episode TV series out here with my husband, Alex, and it's called Sarah's Mountain Escape. So in case you're wondering about this backdrop, I'm not on my TV set. My TV crew is shooting. We are having a super chaotic day with so many things going on this massive project that we're doing. And I have a very kind neighbor who has let me borrow their kitchen for this talk for you today. So I was joking that I look like I've been in a tanning booth because I'm surrounded by Douglas fir and this warm lighting. I hear a lot of you have joined from Toronto where there's a snowstorm. That right there is sunlight bouncing off the windowsill, which is making me really, really, really happy. So I'm honored to join you today. Thanks to the Women's Executive Network, and also thanks to Simon & Schuster, my incredible publisher, who supported me through not 1, but 5 books. We started with Sarah Style, followed by At Home Sarah Style, followed by Collected. And I am now going to share my screen with you. And here's where I hope the next part of this works. And here we go. And I'm going to share. And where has it gone? Oh, all this connecting and reconnecting. Just a second. Give me a second. Technical difficulties. This is sort of what it's like, you guys, just so you know, this is sort of what it's like to make a TV show where anything that can go wrong will go wrong on any given day. So we're going to share this. Now I'm going to go back to sharing and share my screen. And I'm going to share this. And just in case, I'm normally in front of the camera. It's not normally my job to be doing all this technical stuff. So that's why I want you to bear with me. And I did it! Yay!
Yep, okay. We're good.
So we're going to do a reading of Collected, Volume 3, Color and Neutral. And don't worry, I am not going to read the whole book to you. I'm just going to share some insights and overviews. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the Collected series. And in case you're wondering what it is and why I did it, my job as a designer is that I get to create interior environments, and I get to curate elements from a wide variety of sources in order to create the ultimate finished product, which is a home catered to the personal tastes and preferences of my clients. And whether that's something small and local or large and far-flung, it is always a joy and an adventure to create something new and different. But in that curation process, what I thought a lot about was that I get to seek out the elements that help me achieve my goals. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a book series that is sort of based on the concept of a magazine that would allow me to wrap my arms around creatives from around the world and share ideas, work that inspires me, and ideas that inspire me. So it's not just about me and my work all the time. It's about showing you different perspectives. And when we thought about the series, we wanted to do something that would allow us to look at the concept of opposites. So each of the 3 volumes has a title that represents opposites. So City and Country was volume 1, where we looked at spaces that were in rustic, rural, and rugged environments. And then we looked at city homes. In volume 2, it was past and present. So anything from a new build to historic renovation. And in 3, color and neutral. And the thing about color and neutral is that for me, there's really no one right answer. I think if you follow my work, you know I love it all. So this is the only reading part I will do from the book is I'll read you the introduction. I'll admit, I'm curious. What's your palette? Do you dive into color, surrounding yourself with rich jewel tones or pretty pastels? Or are you content to thrive in calming, white-walled rooms? It's no secret that I'm a devotee of smoky blues and greens, but I can also get behind a soft scheme of oyster, cream, and gray, depending on the day. So believe me, I get it. Selecting which route is right for your home can be hard. That's why we devoted the 3rd volume of Collected to this very theme and filled the pages with inspiring projects and super smart designer insights that satisfy both sides of the color neutral equation. Now that home has become more important than ever, I hope you'll find all the ingredients you need to build your perfect right for you palette. Happy decorating. There we go, sorry. So the idea behind the series was this concept of being able to present a wide array of designs to you. And we launched the first book at the beginning of the pandemic, and we have done all 3 books during this pandemic. So I wanted to just take a minute to talk about that because I think people often say, how do you make a book? What's involved? Sarah, what's your role? So I have a teeny tiny team that has helped me achieve this entire collection of books. Beth Hitchcock was our editorial director, and she is the former editor of House and Home magazine. Rose Pereira is the uber talented art director who has been the graphic designer for all of my books. And Jennifer Gibault is my media manager at Sarah Richardson Design, who has a host of different jobs that keep her running, hopping, jumping, and trying to keep everything that we do in the media world moving forward. So I have this tiny team that we created the book as a small team. And what's interesting about it is that when I collaborated with Simon & Schuster, they've always been exceptionally supportive of me and my work and how we come up with these ideas. And we create the entire book and then we hand it to them and they edit it and then they print it. So this is an in-house project. And what you can see here is this is the boardroom at our office, and we would tack the pages up on the wall. We have fabulous bulletin board walls, and we would lay it out and we could discuss it and we could be together as a team. But then we were sitting in this very boardroom the day they told us, the day they announced that coronavirus was a pandemic. And I'll never forget that moment. I think it was exactly pretty much 2 years ago today. And we managed to get that first book done as a team, and we were live and in person. And then by the time we got to our 3rd volume, we never saw each other once. Jennifer now works remotely and independently, and Beth moved to Halifax, and Rose and I communicated from different spots in the city. So for all those of you who've had to adapt your work environment, isn't it incredible to think about how things have changed in such a short period of time? But fortunately, we were still able to create a finished product, and very, very lucky for us, a bestseller again. So that's been fantastic. Now let's get into the decorating side of things. And what I want to help you think about is what your style is, because everything about design is about you finding your style. It's about curating elements for your home that suit you, that fit you, that feel good to you, so that when you come home, or if days like today, if in this environment you never leave home, that you feel good. So I want you to, as we go through this, I hope that you'll see things that appeal to you, that you think, yes, that is so me. And if you see things that don't, that's okay too, because what that means is that you are honing your process. You know who you are, you know what appeals to you, and you know what doesn't. So when we think about color and neutral, on the left, neutral, spare, tailored, refined, a little bit contemporary, and on the right, full, cozy, colorful, bold, a bit eclectic, storied, historical, all of those things. Are you seeing things that appeal to you right now? Are you feeling that you are an A or a B? Let's move to the kitchen. When we think about kitchens, there is no, what I want you to remember throughout this as we go is there are no wrong answers. There are no right answers. There are the best answers for you. And the best thing you can do if you are approaching a project is have a sense of what appeals to you. And something I always do with clients at the beginning is I say, I'd love to see images of what you love, but I also really want to see images of what you absolutely do not love, because sometimes the things you don't like inform me more about what you will like. So I know what to share with you, what to show you, how to create that home, how to tailor that space so it really feels like an expression of you. What I want you to think about is whether you're designing for yourself or whether you're working with a professional, I want you to remember everything needs to work for you. If it doesn't work for you, the solutions aren't solutions. They will just create problems down the line. I always want you to use your voice, and I always want you to advocate for what you know will work. The more informed you are about your lifestyle and your tastes and preferences, the better solution you will have in the end.
I feel like is going to go down in history for the Women's Executive Network as the weirdest book club with the most technical challenges by someone who spends her life on camera. So here we go. We're going to go back to sharing my screen and back. We're going to jump back into this presentation. Here we go. Everybody see me? Okay. So what I was saying is that my clients in the kitchen on the left wanted something spare. They wanted unadorned. They wanted simple. They wanted tailored. They wanted light woods and white walls. Then we look at this beautiful image on the right, and it's the opposite. It's mint green. It's layered textures. It's a more traditional element here, a more traditional inspiration. And when I talk about how you need to know what you want and how you want to use your space, here's a perfect indicator. This kitchen has not one, but two islands. I didn't design this kitchen. You'll see beneath all the images who the designers are in case you want to explore their work and look at their accounts online on Instagram. You'll see lots of juicy, beautiful photos. So it's really about figuring out who you are. When you think about your living room, do you feel comfortable with a lack of color, with simple, streamlined silhouettes? Do you like a more modern approach that is just whisper quiet, and when you come home from the end of the day, you get that simple environment? Or do you like something that feels rich and evocative of life by the seashore, as you can see in this image on the right-hand side? This is a seaside house. Look at these gorgeous blues. But when we wanted to juxtapose, because this is what Collected is all about. It's helping you find ideas and to think about what works for you. And I find it so amazing when you look at these two slides, these two images side by side. On the left, the windows are really the artwork. It's about what's happening outside. And if you know me well, which I'm sure a lot of you do, you know that I'm always thinking about that outdoor connection and how to bring it in. And in a room that has windows as big as this, in this living room, I just feel, we call it, in my household, we call that channel 1. So instead of turning on the TV, you can just look out the window and admire what's happening outside. On the right, you can see how landscape paintings are used to create the effect of a window. And I just think it's so amazing to see how very similar the setup of these two rooms are, but yet, and the plan and the furniture placement, but yet how completely different they feel. And that's what I want you to feel encouraged about, that when you think about creating your rooms and your spaces at home, this is the effect that your decisions have. Does it feel layered and traditional and evocative of the seaside on the right, or does it feel spare, streamlined, and contemporary like the image on the right? This is where it becomes all up to you. Now, one of the key factors in the collected series, and something that I hope you will see and read and enjoy, is that we do an artisan roundup in each of the volumes of the book. And we set out to find a collection of different artisans all working within a similar field. And so for collected volume 3, it was pottery. And we found designers working within a similar medium. But when you just look at this collage of images, you can see what entirely different effects and outcomes the creative process takes because of the unique adaptation and the creative energy that's invested by artisans. And I think hopefully, again, something you know from following my work is how deeply passionate I am about supporting artisans. I think that the most important element of creating a home with soul is infusing it with elements that are handmade. And when I say handmade or artisanal elements, I don't mean that you need to spend a lot of money, because I don't believe you do. I just mean that it's wonderful to support people who make a living from being creative. And whether that is something functional like a table or a chair or a stool, whether it be newly commissioned or something you've picked up vintage. You do know how much I love to shop vintage furniture. Thrifting and treasure hunting is one of my absolute favorite pastimes. And now with stores being closed, I've resorted to doing a lot of that online. But whether it's online or in person, vintage hunting is important to me. Celebrating original, unique pieces that are crafted with passion is extremely important to me in everything I do. So now I'm going to take a little quick summary of the book and show you some of my favorite ideas from the book. And again, this is not all my work. This is a variety of work from the different designers that we've featured. This is one of my absolute favorite images from the book. You know I love blue. I feel at home with all shades of blue, all shades of green. And this is a sort of a bunk room, a guest space in a seaside home. And I think this effect of horizontal striping is fantastic. Whether you achieve this with wallpaper, think about it this way, just a tip to share with you. Wallpaper runs up the roll, but if you found a striped wallpaper and you liked the idea of having a horizontal stripe, you can spin it and you can install it sideways instead of installing it vertically. If you don't want to do the entire room, you can install just a single band around the top or below a chair rail. This is where your interpretation and your personal sense of fun and experimentation comes into play. I just think this is a striking image, and I would love to be in this room. And this is what I love about color is color gives you energy. I feel that this room is spunky, it's fun, and it doesn't take itself too seriously. And if you know, I think you probably know that about me. Hopefully you figured out today, I don't take myself too seriously. And I just want to create spaces that are friendly, that people want to spend time in, that people want to be in, that they want to gather in. And I think that now that we're spending so much time at home, I'm sure many of you have looked at your spaces and thought, how do I make this feel better for me and work better for me? Here's another expression of how to work with color. This is layered. This is pattern, on texture, on print, on color. And what we see here is these sort of earthy tones, a lot of Indian textiles here. Look at these rich paisleys, block prints. And really, if you're thinking that you have an appetite for color, I want you to think about how many different tones and how many different variations of a singular color you can incorporate into a room to bring it to life. So if you look at this and think it started with a red, that beautiful sort of, it's almost got a bit of a pinky tone to it, and then lighter hues. Here's a fun idea here. If you look closely at the image, what you'll see is the banquette, which is a storage banquette, is painted in a blush tone, as is the window and the window trim. Interesting effect here. This is tone on tone, color on color, and this is somebody who really has an appetite for more is more. Here's another image from that blue room that I showed you. And this is when it comes to color, it can be intense or it can be light and bright and breezy. And when you're thinking about design, if you have a room, if you happen to be blessed with a home that has an interesting space, and I would say this right here is an interesting space. This ticks all the boxes for me. I mean, look at this ceiling, look at those windows, look at those views. I want you to think about how you can really harness that, how you can embrace the best architectural features you've got and how you can celebrate them. And in this case, using a striped wallpaper. This is a ticking stripe, a classic ticking stripe, and it's wrapped up the walls onto this tray ceiling and right across the top and back down. This is an effect I absolutely love. It's fantastic. I like the more is more sometimes. The more is more with pattern, but I don't think that this is overwhelming. And this is when color can be soft and soothing and very effective. Think about your color as being artfully inspired. So how places where I look for inspiration when it comes to crafting a color palette and designing an entire room. In this case, this was a client space and they had a collection. These are wallpaper plates. And they had a collection of these antique book plates. And when I looked at the colors, the through line, the element that I kept seeing repeated in each of these beautiful antique book plates that they already had, that we moved from a different room in the house, was these rosy shades, sort of salmon and pinks. And so I drew them out as the key color to use in this room. So if you have something that you already love, take that as your inspiration. I call it a launching point or an inspiration or a jumping off point for a room. And a jumping off point for a room can be anything for me from a piece of art to a patterned rug to a beautiful patterned fabric. And for those of you who've been watching since the good old days of room service, you know that is my tried and true process and it never changes. Color, our appetite for color sort of tends to evolve and change as time goes by. And what I find interesting is the trends, how they come in and how they grow and how they get to a point where they're really saturating the market. So green. You know I love blue, you know I love green. I love green in all shades. And there is a saying about green, which is green is the B. Arthur of color. You either love it or you don't. I love B. Arthur. I love the Golden Girls. Rest in peace, Betty White. You were a legend. And I love green. And what you'll see about green is sometimes it's the minty greens, those soft tones. But you will definitely have noticed that there has been a return of more energetic greens, of sort of grassy greens, and even these more mossy greens, olive tones, dare I say, even avocado. There is a little bit of a spoiler, a little bit of a teaser here. There is a very big, very impactful part of my new series, which is called Avocado Green. I'll leave it to you. You'll have to wait and see how that comes to play. So another place to look for color inspiration is take it from your walls, take it from wallpaper. Some people say to me, "Oh, is wallpaper making a comeback?" For me, wallpaper has been an important element of my work for a long time. I'm a dedicated wallpaper lover. Why, you ask? Because it makes me happy. I found this wallpaper pattern through Brewster wall coverings, and it just made me smile. It has pigs and foxes and whimsical scenes, and it had a really beautiful modern color palette. So kind of a 60s retro pattern as the origin that had been reinterpreted. Again, something that doesn't take itself too seriously. And what I did was I used that exact wallpaper as the foundation for the entire color palette. So I matched the blue that surrounds the bunk, the trim color, everything about this room came from that wallpaper. And if you're looking at the back wall of that bunk bed and wondering what it is not tongue and groove. It is not shiplap. I decided to use a very, very inexpensive material. This is slot wall. So slot wall is what is normally used in a shop. You'll see it in stores, and it has horizontal bands, and then you can put a metal bracket in so you could hang paintbrushes from it or tools from it. But I thought, what a great textural element. We sprayed it and then we installed it to create the surround for this bunk bed. Your ideas can come from anywhere. Here is a bunk room that is done with shiplap, so you can see the difference between the vertical and the horizontal. I think kids' rooms are one of the best places to play with color. If you can't have fun in a kid's room, where can you? The terrific thing right now is lighting has become so much fun. You can find wall sconces in any number of colors. There's a Canadian-based company called Luminaire Authentique, and they allow you to create your own fixtures with a huge range of colors, a vast array of colors. And what I just want you to remember every day in every design project you tackle is design should be fun. Yes, it's going to be hard work. I can guarantee that. It is not always easy. There are challenges in order to creating the home of your dreams, but I want you to always feel that it is worth the effort, and you should be able to embrace your style and have fun. So I have a spelling error in there. I'm very sorry, an extra L on Grand Millennial. So Grand Millennial is a new term that describes the appreciation for traditional design by the millennial age group. And this is really interesting because I feel that when it comes to trends, everything we can always say, all that's old is new again. And it used to take a really long time for that cycle to happen. If you think about it, remember when Deco came back, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, Art Deco came back. Well, Art Deco was from the early part of the 1900s. So it took nearly a year to make a resurgence. And now what's happening, I feel that now what used to be a long cycle is now becoming a very short cycle. So very recently, traditional design was very popular. And then in the last 5 years, I think there's been a huge focus on all things contemporary. But for those of you who love historic design, who love all things traditional or maybe transitional, it's all coming back. So layers, as you can see here, if you look at this, a scalloped monogrammed hand towel. Look at the pattern on these window coverings. These window coverings also have fringe on them, a very traditional element, layering in a traditionally patterned carpet. All of these layers are effects that can be achieved through decorating. And so if you think about this and you think, oh, that's not for me, what I want you to remember is this is where you get to choose your own journey, and you can go as far as you want, or you can pull back and have a less is more approach. So if you were to remove the scalloped towel, if you were to remove the carpet that is on the floor, if you were to replace those drapes for something super simple and tailored, this room would have a very different effect. So what I always want you to remember is just through decorating, just through making a few subtle changes, you can achieve terrific results. Here's another approach to color that we're seeing a lot of, teal. Teal. Aegean is what I'm calling it. But you will have noticed that there is smoky teals, whether it's stronger turquoise or right into that smoky teal. there is an overall use of color. So it's in this room, you can see it's everywhere. It's color blocking to the max. It's the trim, it's the millwork, it's the walls, it's the ceiling, it's the window coverings, the upholstery. This is fearless color. So if this is your style and this is what you feel comfortable in, I want you to remember there are no wrong answers. And this, if you're looking to contemporize your interiors and you have something very traditional, this is a very popular treatment these days, and that is to take existing millwork and instead of highlighting trim and panel molding and each different element in the room in a different color, or in delineating between a trim color and a wall color, what you can see here is this is a one and done. This is paint it all in a single color, and that creates a more harmonious look. Another color that you've seen, if we think about design and what's been popular for quite a few years now, I'd say probably about 3, is blush tones, whether it's salmon or apricot. But here, where this room started this was a photograph from the Arctic, and it had incredible, it's actually lichen that is a reddish orange tone. And that was my inspiration, was that this was an important piece of art for my client. It's a photograph that was taken by a friend of theirs. And I wanted to see how I could uplift that and how I could tie every decision I made in the interior to make it feel relative and relatable to that piece of art. And so hopefully what you see here is a very seamless and harmonious link. I think the fabric is artful. And so I think art comes in so many different forms in how you choose to embrace it in a room. So when you look at this, my question to you is, where do you see the art? Is the art for you the handcrafted stool, that little woolly creature there? Is it the fabric? Is it the artwork? Could it be a piece of furniture? Is it a handmade wool blanket? There are so many different ways that you can express your appreciation for art. So now we're going to move on, take a quick look at neutrals. When I think about neutrals, I think that some people would often say, oh, neutrals they're bland, they're boring, they're blah, they're uninteresting, they lack color. That's really, I think if you're a neutral lover, that's not the way you see it. I think of neutrals as having the opportunity to speak quietly, but very effectively about a palette, and to express a softer sense of the palette. And so here we have warm and cool tones layered together. We have the cool of the gray chairs and the side table. We have the warmth of the floors, the table, the accent pieces, and the ceiling. And most importantly, this is a room where our clients wanted that element of simplicity because they want the outside to be the star, and it's about the windows and the landscape being the star. So it's always about thinking of what element is most important to you. What is the critical piece that you want to bring in? When we think about neutrals aren't just pale beiges and light soft grays. What we're seeing now is, I'm sure you've seen this online, darker cabinetry, moody mudrooms, moody, dark, deep mudrooms are all the rage, whether it's an inky black tone, a deep charcoal. This has a hint of blue to it, or we're seeing mossy greens, navy blues, and there's a real appetite in the design world for creating dramatic mudrooms. And I do think it makes sense. You've seen in my own homes, I like to paint the doors in mudrooms. So if you're not going to do an entire millwork installation, think about what you can achieve just by painting your walls. You'll see here tongue and groove walls that are painted in this deep charcoal gray, or paint just your interior doors. And I mean your closet doors or the inside of your front door. And this is a technique that I've always done in our house in the country. In our first farmhouse, the doors were red. In our current farmhouse, they're blue. And what I love about them is they're a bit more durable. They're fun. They have personality. And I think they create a really warm welcome when you arrive. When you think about neutrals, I think that this image speaks pretty well to contemporary taste and style, and for people who like something modern. What I always find so interesting in my dialogue with all of you through our Instagram platform is I think that this is not your taste. For a lot of you, I think you prefer something that is a bit more vintage, a bit softer, and a bit more traditional. But for many people, the goal is very, very unadorned and as simple as possible, crisp lines. And many people these days feel at peace and in a more uncluttered environment. I'm always torn. It's a big commitment if you choose to go with natural wood on vanities and on custom millwork, because you have to love that for the long haul. So if you're wondering how I make choices when it comes to my own home, I think, what do I love now? What did I love 20 years ago? And what did I love 10 years ago? And what do I think I will still love 10 and 20 years from now? And that was the process I applied to everything I did in the build of Sarah Off the Grid. And I'm happy to report that there is nothing that I have grown tired of in the 5 years we've been in the house. And that is, I know that's a tough question to ask yourselves, but I think it's important when you're in the decorating process or in the design process or in the build process to say, am I doing this because it's a trend, because people are showing this to me? Or am I doing this because it's who I am and what I feel most comfortable with? I think right now you're probably seeing a lot of vintage, lots and lots of vintage, and vintage goes in different cycles. So whether it's Canadian pine antiques, whether it's sort of shabby chic painted furniture, right now there's a huge appetite for all things teak. And I recently, some of you may have seen, I recently posted asking for help because I was looking for some vintage chairs. And it was so interesting to see the sources that people offered me. Two people found me the exact chairs. Unfortunately, they weren't at the same price. So I'd got 6 chairs for a bargain price, and the other sets of chairs were very, very expensive. So I couldn't afford to buy them, but it always is, it's such a fun journey. And I love vintage. I love the combination of, I don't want to live in a room that feels like a period expression of a time gone by. I like to take one part, this is when I talk about the curation, I like one part of mid-century, and then I like something that is new and now. And it's that mix that always makes me feel like it's what works for today. If we think about neutrals can be the warmth of teak, it can be the softness of oyster and pale gray, or it can be the stark contrast of black and white. And all of you will have seen black windows. Black windows have been a really, really popular trend over 15 years now. I remember we did a project on Design Inc. with black doors and windows, which was coming up on 20 years ago, if you can believe that. That really dates us all. If you saw that episode, and I remember making that episode, that was a long time ago. And somebody asked me recently, if you were redoing your farmhouse now, would you have done black windows? And my answer was actually no, because I don't believe it's something that I would love forever. And I like the lightness. I like to look through the windows out to the outside. I don't want the frames of the windows to be the star. So another spoiler alert, no, you will not see a lot of black windows in my next TV series. When you think about neutrals, maybe this is your palette. Maybe you like the idea of easy elegance. I like a room, this is a room designed by me. This is a room suited to me. This is not my room, it's a client space. But I like quiet rooms. I feel that days are busy, there's a lot going on. And the one thing I know that makes me feel calm and centered and ready to relax at the end of the day is a soft palette. where it's layered. I don't think that this, when I look at this room, some of you, and you are welcome to think that, Sarah, this is a really boring room. Some people will find that this is lacking in interest because you think it seems all very similar in tone and color. For me, I see layers, I see nuance, I see pattern, I see texture. And that is what creates dynamic interest for me in a room. So I find I may be loud and energetic a lot of the time, but I also really appreciate a room that speaks quietly and softly. When you think about neutrals, an important element that is still, so strong is taking a singular color in a variety of tones and shades and layering it together. So this is a disciplined approach to just using one color. It's charcoal, but it's light charcoal and it's deep charcoal. It's everything from ash to char. You can see birch trees in the artwork that's hanging above the bed. And then just to keep that from feeling too icy when you're working with neutrals, to keep it from feeling too cold and austere, look at this injection. This is a leather wrapped bedside table in this cognac tone, and that gives you the warmth. That's where your warm, cool neutrals play together, live together, and create that layered harmony in a room. When you think about kitchens, now we've seen a bunch of different options here, from spare, streamlined, Scandinavian inspired, to that gorgeous mint medley in the traditional kitchen, to do you want something that has dark cabinetry, stark, more high contrast, high definition, and super, super streamlined. This is where the world is your oyster. It's up to you to choose. And whether you are doing custom millwork or whether you're embracing a ready to go solution of big box cabinetry like this, you really have so many different options. So when you're thinking about doing your kitchen, I always recommend getting a sample of a door, bring it home, live with it, and think about how it appeals to you. You need your kitchen to be hardworking, hard-wearing, and you really want it to be that space that you feel you can thrive in, that you enjoy being in, that helps you tackle that process of cooking and cleaning and rinse and repeat and do it all again, especially in these days of working from home. When you think about neutral, maybe this is more your approach. This is layered. I would call this layered vintage. And this is mixing wood tones. This is mixing periods. This is a Parsons table with a deco-inspired chair and light fixture. We've got the black windows here. We've got creamy elements in the wall coverings, the window coverings and the walls and the artwork. And I don't think this is, for me, I don't think that this room is boring. This is not a boring neutral room. This room is brought to life through the detail that exists in each one of these pieces. And this is a more traditional look that then yet still has a more contemporary appeal. Oh, sorry. And lastly, it's when we think about neutrals, a huge important part of neutrals, as you can see from this, I call this safari chic. You've got this little folding campaign stool, a campaign inspired bedside table there. We've got the woven wicker furniture, reeded window coverings, this dynamic, high contrast graphic wallpaper. And all of these, everything here has warmth for me, but I think it's modern in its execution, yet every single element in this room is traditional in its origin. And that's what I want you to remember, is that there's always, whether you play in color or whether you play in neutrals, there's always a way to create that blend that is perfectly suited to you, to your home, to the architecture of your home, to people who reside in your home and how you want to use it, and to the elements that you feel most comfortable in. So that finishes my roundup. I've given you a bit of a mini tour of the book, hopefully shared some ideas that will inspire you. We're going to move on to questions next, but for those who've joined today, if you want to see more of the collected series, we're featuring a promo right now, a giveaway, thanks to our friends at Marcel. The first 40 people to order a bundle of books get a free Marcel lip gloss. So that's a fun way to wrap it up. Otherwise, you can always, if you're not interested in buying the book, you can always follow along on my Instagram account, and we'll try and keep sharing tips and ideas. If you have ideas of more you want to see, feel free to drop us a note, send us a message, let us know. We're always listening and trying. And now I think we have some time to answer some questions, right, Virginia?
Yes. So obviously anyone can put questions in the chat. Just give me a chance, because we have over 250 guests, and we did have some questions that came in before the event with people that pre-registered. So I do have a few of those questions to go through, and then we'll go through our audience questions. And just if you want to take a look at the chat, there is a link there that you can actually get Sarah's book signed. So we've put the link in the chat. So if anyone wants to take a look at that link, and then obviously also this Marcel giveaway as well. Okay, so Sarah, do you want to stop sharing this screen? And then I just want to share some images really quick from one of our guests and the questions that go with that.
Okay.
Okay, try to get this as large as possible so that you can see it. Okay. So these are a few pictures of Judy's living room area here. So she's got this picture. You can see that she's still, like, the chandeliers on the floor. She's still doing some building here, and goes right into her dining room kitchen area. Mm-hmm. So her question was, I just want to make sure I get the right question. Okay. She asked, what do you suggest to decorate the walls on both sides of the fireplace? The wall to the left of the TV.
Yep.
And then, since the fireplace has a lot of patterns, do you suggest that she uses patterns for her curtains or carpet or chairs? And
I think we can just answer those two questions quickly, because I want to make sure we address as many questions as possible. So what we have here is, I'm going to try and make all my answers as general as possible so that they can really tailor to as many people as possible. What we have here is a fireplace that is really bold in its pattern, and it is taking center stage, and nothing will ever take that away. What I see is there's a lot of very cool charcoaly gray neutrals in here, and what I think I see in this marble is I think I see a lot of warmer veining. So I think right here, when I talk about how you have your palette ready to go, and you can take inspiration from the color in this marble. And if you're looking for color accents to introduce, to keep it warmed up a bit, because what I see here is this is gray on gray on gray on gray on gray. I think we need a bit of a lift. So yes, I think you could use some pattern. I would use larger scale pattern, and I would make sure that the colors tie to the colors in that marble. On either side of the marble, I think this is a beautiful place to use black and white photography. And when you think about black and white photography, it's not just black and white. There's a big variation of color, and you could try something maybe that has more sepia tones to it. And I think that will add some richness. It'll help balance that strong verticality of the fireplace by having two, I would say, large scale, at least 30 by 30 inches on either side. I would make them a pair in terms of size, but obviously the images should relate to each other, but not match. And when it comes to window coverings, I think you could do something that is a sort of a graphic, a smaller graphic pattern. Could be black and white, it could be charcoal and cream, it could be a slightly warmer tone if that's what is in the fireplace. So always look at what you've got and try and embrace it, celebrate it, and run with it. Let's go to another question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, like I said, we have a lot of questions that came in.
I see a bunch here. Do you want me just to pick one out, Virginia?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask one that was a little bit higher, so so that we don't miss it.
Okay.
So They said that they have a wall of windows, so it looks out on the Atlantic Ocean. It's a whole wall. They don't really want to cover that, but what drapery or shades or whatever would you suggest if it's something where the outside is the art? I guess you did mention this.
Great question. When it comes to window coverings, it's really important to think about, what is the purpose? Will you close them? Do you need them to help control sun, keep out the sun during the day? Do you need them to protect your furnishings? And this is really part of the decision-making process. For me, in a place that has big, wide open views, I really, especially if they're large expanses, I often don't like the effect of black windows at night. So I do like the softness of being able to draw the window coverings. I appreciate the sort of ripples in the fabric and the softness of how lamp light glows against those fabrics in the evening. So that's why you'll see I generally use fabric window coverings as opposed to blinds, like what you see here behind me today in my neighbor's house that I've borrowed. But I think it's also important to choose fabrics that will stand the test of time. So in an environment that sounds like exposed to the ocean, you might want to think about a sheer, but something that looks like linen, but that is made of durable fabric. So it would probably be made of polyester. And there are some fabulous options that have a slightly open weave. So you might get a little bit of light filtering through them if it was a bright sunny day, but they have the texture of linen, the durability of being polyester, and the softness of being fabric. And you really need to shop around, because if you have large windows, you might need up to 60 yards of fabric. So it's really important to do your homework and get the solution that's going to work, that's going to last, and that you can afford.
Perfect. Okay, I had a couple of questions about the Pantone color of the year. So kind of, 2020 and such a departure, or how different 2021 looked, and any comments on has 2022 been released yet, or we're still waiting on it?
You mean in terms of trends?
No, what Pantone named as its color of the year.
Oh, yes. I think it's called Very Perry, which is really interesting. Yes, I'm getting a nod here on the left. Thank you. And I know that actually because I saw Tiffany Pratt, one of my other hosts on HGTV, was talking all about Very Perry. So it is a periwinkle purpley blue. And I think it's really interesting because I think we haven't seen a lot of that hue for quite a while, but it is very flattering. And so purpley blues, I think we've seen everything has been more peacock inspired for the last bunch of years. Teal, peacock, all those more greeny blues. But periwinkle is an easy to work with color. It's really beautiful and soothing in a bedroom, an accent of it in your bathroom, great for a kid's room. Even if you think about, I always think about contrasting the warmth. So again, in my neighbor's house here, this is all Douglas fir trim, which has a very orangey tone. So if you have Douglas fir, or if you have cherry, or if you have warm maple or warm golden oak, you may want to choose a color, a blue tone, a cooler color that contrasts, that provides, you've got the warmth from that wood. If you contrast it against something with a much cooler tone, then you create a more harmonious effect. So I wouldn't paint walls with warm trim. I wouldn't paint walls anything golden, yellow, orange, peachy, or pinky. I always go to the opposite side to try and cool it off, something in the greens, sort of a smoked teal, those sort of, think of those historic Farrow and Ball kind of colors, cooler tones against opposite side of the spectrum, against the warmth of natural woods.
Okay. We had a question about apartments. So this person lives in an apartment. They love wallpaper, but they have limitations. Do you recommend peel and stick wallpaper?
Oh, absolutely. You should do, when it comes to wallpaper, do what works for you. try peel and stick. And the great thing about peel and stick is it's easy and it's affordable. And if you're not sure if you're renting, or if you're not sure that you are a fan of wallpaper, go for peel and stick. If you're like me and you know that you love wallpaper, then by all means, invest in a permanent solution. You can install it yourself. Again, with wallpaper, I would encourage you, shop around. You can pay anything. You can find fabulous, affordable wallpaper. Some of my wallpaper is sold in store at Lowe's. You can find it in a big box store, or you can buy designer wallpaper and pay a lot of money for it. But really, I spend a huge amount of time on the Brewster wall covering the Brewster wall covering website, because there's a search function and it allows me to look by color or style, and it has fabulous photos, and you can really find some great inspiration. So that's part of the reason why I just keep using it, because it's fun.
Perfect. We have an interior decorating student that's on the call today. She says, is there any software that you enjoy using when you design your spaces?
I don't actually, so my team uses CAD for all of our drawings and renderings and SketchUp and that sort of thing. I'm willing to say I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I would love to dive into programs, but I feel that I have too much on my to-do list as it is, and nobody on my team wants me to try and start doing CAD drawings because we already have someone who's really good at that, and it would take me a long time to catch up. So I still am, I would say my software is my imagination, and I really enjoy visualizing spaces and imagining how they're going to be when they're done.
Wonderful. Okay. What would be the best way to light up a space where there's no natural light? So a townhouse that looks out on a brick wall.
Okay, great question. So lots of us, whether you have a limited view or no view, or maybe you're tackling a basement space, what I want you to think about, or you may have the best light, what I want you to always remember is don't underestimate the importance of lighting. When it comes time to redesigning a space, please don't leave your lighting to the very end. Please don't allow yourself $20 and find yourself with only one option of, going to your nearest local big box store and choosing the cheapest thing you can. Try, not to say that there aren't some great fixtures available at a big box store, but just try to embrace and remember the importance of lighting. It illuminates your environment. It illuminates you. It affects how you look in the room, how you feel in the room. So I would say a combination of, if you're really lighting challenged, you might consider, I feel like you want to do whatever you can to open up the space. So you might consider putting wall sconces in, because then it will cast light up and down the wall, and it could help create an effect of broadening the space without actually making it bigger. And when you think about sconces, again, think about what is the cast of the light going to be. You can find things that are made of alabaster, ceramic. It doesn't have to be a bright chrome finish with a cold bulb. Bulbs are super important. You can get LED bulbs now. Philips makes some fabulous light bulbs that are warm in the way that they glow. So a daylight bulb is a very cool temperature, and something that is more like 2700 Kelvin has a warmer glow to it. So 3000 is cooler, 2700 is warmer. My trick is, when I'm thinking about pot lights and setting up a lighting plan, is I like to move those pot lights out to the edges of the room as much as possible, so that they wash the walls with light, and they really help you embrace the perimeter, and they will make that room feel bigger if you can get the lighting out to the outside of the walls instead of keeping it tight in the middle. So various lighting sources, some ceiling light, some sconces, some table lamps. Lighting is your friend. Use it to create ambiance.
Wonderful. Okay, person has a tiny house with shiplap walls. Her husband's bought a huge TV. It takes up 3/4 of the wall. Is there a way to kind of disguise the TV or take away that it's not the feature?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, for those of us, so here we go. In my neighbor's house, there's a big black TV. This is what we don't love, right? We don't love the big black TV. So if you look at Sarah off the grid, just Google search Sarah off the grid 2 living room, you'll see a solution I came up with where I framed black and white photographs and I created a bifolding screen that covered over the TV so that it was like shutters. You could close it when it is turned off and just open it when it's open. I think this is where you've got a challenge. You want to find a solution. I want you to dig in, dive into Pinterest and use a search term of DIY ideas to cover a TV or TV cover or TV disguise. And search and see what you can find. There's some great, we posted something recently from our Slopeside Chalet build, which is a contemporary chalet, and they had an amazing, it was a cover where there's a piece of art and then it lifts up and it so there are some really interesting options.
Okay. We're losing your sound a little bit, but hopefully that doesn't last. I can hear you, but it just got
Weird.
stopped.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. Yes.
Well, we're almost out of time, so we've had every challenge possible, right, ladies?
Yeah. Okay. I have a large sliding door. It's 14 feet. It's facing out onto a pond, newly built deck. I don't want to block the view by putting anything too obstructive as railings around the deck. Any thoughts of something that would be cost effective that doesn't take away from the view?
This is a tricky one.
Helps with the deck.
So it's really tricky. Here, see this deck out here? That is a simple aluminum railing system. So that's cost effective. The key, when it comes to decks and railings, it has to meet code. And so that's where the challenge is. You need a system that meets code, which means a spacing of no more than 4 inches in between each of the pickets. You can.
Oh, you're good.
I don't have, can you hear me still?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, it's weird. I'm getting messages, but I haven't touched. My hands are here. I'm not touching anything. There is a system that I've used that's called Invisibrail, and it's a ready-to-go component system that allows you to do glass with posts, and it's quite interesting. You should check it out. Look in their gallery. I've used it and it's worked really well. Otherwise, you can do, if you do wood or aluminum, you're going to be restricted by code.
Okay. I just want a comment, Judy. We did answer your question, so we will be sending out the recording to everyone. So if they missed the answer to their question, you'll get your answer in that. Okay, I have a German Shepherd who thinks he's a lap dog. What kind of fabric other than leather would you recommend for furniture for dog hair to be able to clean off?
Great. Avoid anything that is too supple, nothing brushed. You need a smooth fabric. So this is where twill comes in, not brushed. Brushed fabrics and softer fabrics. So in a brushed twill, they have actually gone over the face of the fabric to kind of pull it up to make it feel softer. And that softer fabric just is a magnet for hair. What you want to think about is something that is smooth, that it's more likely that the fabric can just brush off or easily be vacuumed off. And that's where just the classics, simple, denim, twill, that kind of weight of fabric that doesn't have really any softness to it. Use the softness and please, please, please make sure it's washable. With the right solution, you can unzip that cover, throw it in the washing machine, throw it in the dryer, put it back on, and it looks as good as new. Because you know what? Life happens. And I feel like every time I post a photograph of a light interior, people say to me, how do you do that? Don't you have kids and dogs? I have 2 dogs, 2 guinea pigs, 2 kids, a husband, lots of guests whenever that's allowed. And for me, it's just about, it's about being, I don't go for spill proof. I don't go for stain treatment. I just go for, unzip it, throw it in the wash, and hope it survives. And you know what? It does. I can't say I've ever had a washing machine disaster. I don't encourage any of you to have a washing machine disaster. If you're not sure how it'll survive the spin cycle, wash an arm cap, wash the most discreet piece of the puzzle, and try and choose practical solutions.
Perfect.
If in doubt, slip cover.
Wonderful. Do you have any recommendations about painting good kitchen cabinets?
Yes. Okay. Painting kitchen cabinets can be absolutely wonderful and transformative. It can also be a disaster if not properly prepped. So a key factor is to know how much use they've had. Are there oils on them from cooking in years and years? They have to be properly prepped. They have to be sanded. They should be washed with TSP, which is trisodium phosphate, something that will make sure that you have a strong adhering primer when it comes time to paint them. I would always get them professionally sprayed. So I have a contact who has a spray booth, and that's where we send things to be sprayed, but then you still have the entire framework. And so think about that. That needs to be done. So now there's actually some services that will come and do the entire thing in your home. You might want to check it out. There's a company called SprayNet. They have an Instagram account, and they can both spray the exterior of your house, siding or brick, and transform the color of the exterior of your house, but they can also do your kitchen, and it's done in a day or two. And they have paints that are developed to work. So that's the key. If you're going to do it, I'd say try and find a company that'll give you some sort of a guarantee, make sure it's properly prepped. And that's when it makes sense, because what is not chic is chipping paint.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen one more time. I know a lot of people have shared images, and I apologize because I didn't get them ahead of time, but I'll share this really quick, this image.
Okay. And then I think we probably have time for one more question after this.
Okay. Oh, I just lost the image. Just a second.
I've got it.
Oh, can you see it?
I can see it.
Okay. So they said they want advice on what type of carpet they should buy for that space.
I want to see some color. I think this person likes color. What I see is hot pink pillows, and I see a chair, but I can't tell if that's pink or red. So I think you want to make a choice of what direction you're going, and what you really, it's fuchsia. Okay. Thanks, Marie. So it looks like you like fuchsia, and I would say you don't need, if this is an accent color that you're not sure if you're going to enjoy for the long haul, then you don't want to really invest in it. You have to know how comfortable you are in living with color. So here are your options. You could go with just a nice, simple neutral. You could choose something that has a light neutral in a sort of a creamy tone with a bit of an accent of that smoky gray blue that I'm seeing on the ottomans. And that will be foolproof. Or if you feel that this is fuchsia is your accent, this is your color, this is your personal style statement, then choose something that embraces both the gray that's on your wall, the bluey gray that's on these ottomans, and has an accent of fuchsia in it. What I will say is it's always easier to choose a paint color or an accent pillow that matches your rug, rather than make your rug your last finishing touch and try and make it go backwards and go with everything else. So that is why so often I love to start with the rug, and let all the other choices grow out from it. But I think that you could easily find something that has the cream that's in your recliner, the smoky blue of those ottomans, and the gray of your wall. You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay.
I only said you're welcome because she said thank you. I saw.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem. Okay. How do you feel about painting wood trim?
Well, have you watched my show? I always feel good about painting wood trim. I am, this is, if there's any men watching, I may get in trouble, but my feeling about wood is, I don't think it's the feature. I don't think wood trim it's not the art in the space. And so when I look, I feel terrible saying this because I borrowed my neighbor's house, but for me, I would prefer to see the wood embraced in terms of furniture. That to me is artful. And I find that having natural wood trim can be a bit bossy because it is defining this color as the dominant color, as this everything. It dictates everything else that has to follow. So if I want to introduce a piece of wood furniture, I have to make sure that it complements the trim. Whereas, white painted trim, it's so easygoing, doesn't boss anybody around.
Perfect. Okay, I think that's all the time that we have for questions. I really appreciate that everyone was able to come on today. And thank you, Sarah, for spending the time to be able to answer the questions with our audience. We truly appreciate it. We will be sharing the recording out to everyone, and we'll be sharing out links again to Sarah's books and even signed copies. So we encourage you to make sure to collect the whole collection. And we're looking forward to, maybe there's another collective coming up possibly.
I definitely, we have proven that you can launch a book during a pandemic and you can create 2 more books in a pandemic. So I really hope we have the opportunity to share a 4th volume in the collected series with you. So stay tuned. If it's happening, I promise I will let you know. I haven't started working on it yet because I'm a little bit busy doing this TV series, but I hope you'll all consider joining me in the fall because it's an adventure, it's a journey, and it's the craziest renovation we have ever done. But I want to say thank you to all of you for joining me, and I appreciate your patience while we navigated a wild collection of technological challenges today. And it's always nice to see your faces and to have you join us. So thank you. Thank you to the Women's Executive Network for hosting this and inviting me to join, and for my fabulous publisher, Simon & Schuster, for asking me to be a part of this. So thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Sarah.
Bye.
Bye.
So again, for anyone that's still here, this is how you can purchase Sarah's book at sarahrichardsondesign.com. And you can also purchase directly from simonandschuster.ca.
Super. Thank you.
And
Thank you.
thank you for coming. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We're also doing a book club with Fotini Econonopolis in February. Say less, get more, the unconventional negotiation techniques that get you what you want. So we would love to have you join us for that free event.
Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to our corporate partners that also helped make this happen today.
Super great. Okay, you take care.
Bye. Thank you, Leanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye. If anyone's interested in membership with WXN, we are selling the membership for $99 right now. So that gets you access to obviously events like this, but also to discounted or free events that are specific to members. And we do have our Monday Mojo series. We actually sold out for our January Monday Mojo series, but you can join us in February and in the coming months for all of our meet and greets with top 100 winners and our WXN ambassadors. We opened up our Canadian Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Awards that opened up on January 3rd, and we are currently accepting nominations for the awards and look forward to seeing you at our summit on May 25th and 26th. and our top 100 awards, including our winner, Sarah. We open up our top 100 awards on Monday. So we would love to see some nominations from some of you. You can nominate yourself or another powerful woman, and we will be honoring our top 100 award winners in November. So thank you everybody so much for attending today's event. We look forward to having other events in the future with you, and we would love for you to join us. You can visit our website at wxnetwork.com to learn more. Thank you.